What's up, Ginger Cornets? You ever wonder what Ash is up to these days? While we've all been watching the ongoing adventures of Liko, Roy, and the rest of the Rising Volt Tacklers, Ash has presumably just been kind of doing whatever on his endless journey to become a Pokemon Master. So the one question in everyone's mind is, will he ever return? Now, to be honest, I don't think Ash truly needs to return to the anime anytime soon. Horizons has been doing a great job building up its new cast of characters, and truthfully, I would be content without seeing Ash or any of the other previous characters in the series. However, it's certainly an interesting topic to discuss, especially since there's really nothing stopping Ash from making his Gen 9 debut. The question is though, what would his team be? And to be a Pokemon Master, Ash began using a rotating team consisting of Pokemon he had caught across his various travels, which was a great way to send him off. But for this hypothetical return in Horizons, let's limit Ash to just one team of 6 Pokemon. Which ones would be the best way to define such a monumental return? Well, let's find out. Alright, I think we can start by getting the obvious one out of the way. Pikachu will of course be part of the team. Shocker, I know. Honestly, if Ash were to return in Horizons, one of the things I would most want to see would be a proper battle between his Pikachu and Captain Pikachu. Despite having the same iconic voice actor, Horizons has done a great job differentiating Cap from Ash's Pikachu, with a greater focus on close-range combat via Thunder Punch and using Double Team to mix up opponents. Not to mention the clear difference in their personalities. And of course, it would be awesome to see the return of Pikachu's signature 10 million volt Thunderbolt. Now that would truly be a battle for the ages. Moving on to a less guaranteed, but still pretty obvious pick in my opinion, is Pidgeot. In the final episode of Ash's journey, we got the long overdue reunion between him and Pidgeot. Would have been nice to see this happen after Ash returned from the Orange Islands like he promised, but hey, better late than never, I guess. If Ash were to return in Horizons and didn't have Pidgeot, it would honestly be such a wasted opportunity. In the first Japanese opening, we see Ash battling with Pidgeot, which to this day we've only seen once, back in the episode he released it. Pidgeot could also serve as the obligatory flying Pokemon to provide rides, or if Team Rocket shows up, which let's be honest, if Ash is coming back, they're basically a guarantee, Pidgeot could be the token search for Team Rocket and Pikachu from the air Pokemon. Now for the next 2 picks, I wanted to include Pokemon who aren't just iconic to Ash, but have a deeper connection to the character, starting of course with Lycanroc. To be fair, any member of Ash's Alola team would be a great pick, but considering Lycanroc was the Pokemon who made Ash Alola's first ever champion, I don't think there's really much of a contest here. Not to mention that in the anime, we've never seen another Dusk form Lycanroc other than Ash's. This doesn't mean there can't be any others, but considering Rotom had no data on the form after it evolved from Rockruff, I think it's pretty safe to say this is a pretty unique Ashmon. But of course, we can't talk about unique Ash-themed Pokemon without bringing up a certain frog. And surprise surprise, Ash's iconic Greninja, the one who he had a special bond with, the Pokemon who is apparently the most popular among fans, will not be returning to Ash's team.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
Look, I'd like to see it too, especially after we didn't get to see the Ash Greninja transformation in Journeys, but the fact of the matter is that Greninja has an important duty to fulfill back in Kalos, and I just can't see it returning to Ash's team anytime soon. Perhaps if the Horizons gang goes to Kalos in promotion for Legends ZA, we could see another one-off return like we did in Journeys, but I definitely wouldn't place any bets on Greninja actually being a part of Ash's team. However, if we can't get Greninja, there is another Pokemon who fulfills a very similar role. That's right, it's Greninja's student itself, Lucario. Even before Lucario was born, Ash could feel a special connection between the two's aura, not unlike the bond he felt with Greninja. In fact, it was for this exact reason that Ash had Greninja train Lucario prior to his match with Raihan, which of course led to Lucario mastering its now iconic giant Aura Sphere. Even before he owned one for himself, Ash had a clear connection to the Lucario line, making it a perfect perfect choice as a Pokemon to represent the character. Of course, there was Sir Aaron's Lucario and the Riolu Ash bonded with in Sinnoh, but correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Lucario is the only Pokemon Ash battled in an official match in every series since the Pokemon's debut. In Diamond and Pearl, there was Ash's gym battle with Maylene. In Best Wishes, Ash had to battle Cameron's newly evolved Lucario in the Unova League. In XY, there was an entire arc leading up to Ash's gym battle with Karina, whose Lucario he had a rematch with in Journeys before his own Riolu evolved. And in Sun and Moon, Ash beat Kukui's Lucario during their Alola League exhibition match. Ash having a Lucario of his own was truly meant to be, and it undeniably deserves a spot on this team. While we're on the topic, Ash's Lucario has the ability to Mega Evolve, which gives Ash 2 unique battle mechanics when also considering Pikachu's 10 million volt Thunderbolt. So the question is, do we want to make it 3? When it comes to Dynamaxing, technically any of Ash's Pokemon are capable of it, and Pikachu is even able to Gigantamax. However, Ash's go-to G-Max Pokemon is of course Gengar, and this may surprise some, but unfortunately I don't think Gengar will have a place on this team. We need to remember that while Z-moves and Mega Evolution can work anywhere, Dynamax is restricted to specific areas in the Galar region, so unless Ash meets up with the Rising Voltaclers in a very specific location, we likely wouldn't even get to see Gengar reach its full potential. And given that Horizons has already had an entire arc set in Galar, this just seems super unlikely, especially as new games to promote continue to be worked on. But with only 2 spots remaining, who could still make the cut? There's 2 very iconic fire types I'm guessing you've been expecting to see, so how about we narrow that down? Will the next spot go to Charizard, or will it go to Infernape? Honorable mention to Incineroar, by the way. And yeah, it's going to Infernape. Alright, look, Charizard is one of Ash's most iconic Pokemon, but it's sort of been out of the spotlight for quite a while now. Specifically Ash's Charizard, not the species as a whole of course, but that's also why I'm voting against it. It was a big deal when Charizard returned in Best Wishes, but since then, there really hasn't been much. Likely because Alon, Kiawe, Leon, and now Freed all have a Charizard of their own, meaning Ash's iconic powerhouse really isn't that unique anymore, especially considering other Charizard possess the ability to Mega Evolve and Gigantamax. Plus it may be a bit much if Ash has not one, but 2 of the same Pokemon as Freed. Now despite a fairly long absence following Diamond and Pearl, Infernape clearly got special treatment when it returned in Journeys, with multiple episodes featuring it prominently. We even saw an alternate universe version of Ash using Infernape during the showdown at the Gates of Warp. And this isn't even mentioning the legacy Infernape had during Ash's adventures in Sinnoh, with its storyline being a clear fan favorite. Even Ash's Japanese voice actor has gone on record saying Ash's Sinnoh League battle with Paul, in which Infernape was the key to victory, is her personal favorite battle in the entire series. And while I'm sure some 30-something-year-old will unsubscribe due to this pick, this spot just has to go to Infernape. Finally, we're down to the last spot on the team, and honestly there's quite a few options we could go for. To narrow it down, I'm gonna select 5 Pokemon to choose from, 1 from each region not yet included, and then we can choose who the final pick will be. It's time for a lightning round. Noctowl is Ash's only shiny Pokemon, which would make it a cool pick, not that I'm biased or anything, but its similarity to Pidgeot, even having the exact same typing, would make it a bit redundant. Sceptile is an all-around solid pick, and made history for being the only Pokemon in the Sinnoh League to defeat Tobias's Darkrai. Crocodile was without a doubt Ash's strongest Unova Pokemon, plus it was even featured in multiple episodes before Ash finally caught it. Definitely a solid pick. I'd argue second to Greninja on Ash's Kalos team would be Hawlucha, but while it is a great Pokemon, it wouldn't provide any additional typing to the team. And finally, given that our current Journeys rep is from Gen 4, Dracovish would be a funny addition, and Ash's was even the first of its species to be restored from a fossil in the anime. Alright, that's all of them. So first off, I think we can eliminate Noctowl and Hawlucha, primarily due to a lack of type diversity. Plus, if Greninja was an option, I don't think Hawlucha would really even be considered. But now that we've got our top 3, these cuts are about to become a lot more difficult. Any one of these Pokemon would be a fantastic choice for the team, and this honestly seems like the kind of decision that would really just come down to personal preference. But I'm going to try and stay as objective as possible, starting with cutting Sceptile. I know, this isn't easy for me either. Despite despite defeating Tobias's Darkrai and tying with May's Blaziken, I'd argue Sceptile is simply the least unique of these three. Especially after Sawyer's Sceptile became capable of Mega Evolution, it sort of just makes Ash's feel a bit less important in the grand scheme of things. As silly as it may sound, simply by having sunglasses, Krookodile sets itself apart from other members of its species, and Dracovish is literally one of a kind. Meanwhile, Sceptile is certainly strong, but similar to Charizard, it's just been outclassed by another member of its species. And if you couldn't already guess it, the other Pokemon going home today is Krookodile. Yes, it had a huge buildup leading to its capture. Yes, it was the first Pokemon in the anime to defeat Iris's Dragonite. And yes, it was able to get Ash the win against Stefan in the Unova League, despite an unfavorable matchup. But Dracovish is simply on a whole other level. When it comes to uniqueness, Krookodile has sunglasses, and I guess technically Sceptile also has a twig in its mouth. But Dracovish is the only currently known living member of its species. Sure, Krookodile was able to defeat Iris's Dragonite, which is certainly impressive, especially considering Iris would later become a champion, but Dracovish not only defeated that same Dragonite after Iris became champion with ease, but was also able to take down Cynthia's Roserade, Leon's Rillaboom, and even stood toe-to-toe with Steven's Metagross. Simply put, this Pokemon is a champion slayer. I will briefly mention that this isn't the only one of Ash's Pokemon to be unique to its species, as he currently also has the only known Melmetal, with it also being Ash's only mythical Pokemon. However, for the sake of generation and type diversity, as well as the skills and legacies of both of these Pokemon, I really can't choose Melmetal over the funny fish. So there we have it. Ash's perfect team for a grand return would be Pikachu, Pidgeot, Lycanroc, Lucario, Infernape, and Dracovish. To be honest though, there's a lot of interesting and unique teams Ash could go with. One of my favorite aspects of To Be a Pokemon Master was how many different team combinations we got to see. But if Ash were to have only one team for a grand return, this is the one I would go with. But if you'd like, feel free to leave a comment with the 5 you'd like to see return, or 6 if you think Pikachu should be getting the boot. Hey, for all we know, Ash could show up with Boldore, Torkoal, and like 4 Tauros. Sky's the limit, really. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later, Gator Taters.